Part 54. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 531. An ice blue giant bird covered most of the sky, its eyes were icy cold, and the feathers fanned countless ice cones down towards the sword god in the dark city. The sword god snorted coldly, with a grey long sword in his hand, slashing at countless ice picks. It's just that after the sword chi burst out, the space suddenly distorted, and the sword chi disappeared inexplicably. The sword god didn't expect such a situation at all, and hurriedly took out a shield to block it before he was able to avoid the ice pick. The corner of Bingji's mouth twitched. That stupid dragon is really nosy. The sword god vigilantly felt that he did not find the aura of other high-level powerhouses around, and then he was relieved. The ice halberd raised his head and spewed out a mouthful of ice blue flames. The sword energy instantly melted and disappeared, but the flames did not completely dissipate, and the aftermath fell towards the sword god. Seeing this, the sword god's eyes narrowed, and he moved quickly to prepare, but was blocked by an invisible force of space. He was forced to stop as soon as he took a step, and was hit by the flames of the ice halberd. Lum Wan found out that Long Yao has been playing tricks all the time, and he was very happy. This old guy should play him like this. Bingji, have fun. She gave Bingji a look and asked him to play with the stupid dragon. At first, Bingji was very dissatisfied with the stupid dragon's intervention, but seeing the sword god running out of the flames angrily with his whole body charred black, he also found it very interesting. One light and one dark, play the old dog to death, although the stupid dragon still hates it. The sword god was completely furious. He slashed dozens of swords in the direction of the ice halberd with his long sword, and then evolved a sword formation. But apparently he was going to fail. Afterwards, no matter how he attacked, he couldn't fall on the big bird in the sky. Instead, every time the space would be twisted to take away all his sword energy, and the sword formation would be drawn away from time to time, and part of its power would be greatly reduced. And every time the Bingluan attacked him accurately, he would be blocked by the force of space if he wanted to change his position, and if he took out the magic weapon to resist, he would be inexplicably unloaded by the distorted space again. Go for most of the power. In a short while, the sword god of Dark City had loose hair, his whole body was charred black, his eyes were red, completely angry, and he was attacking and dodging in embarrassment. Who is attacking? Get out. After a stick of incense, he also realized something was wrong. Even if the Ice Luan mythical beast in the sky has the power of space, it is impossible to exert such a level, and he shouted at the air angrily. It was obvious that the stupid dragon and the stinky bird were having a lot of fun, and it was rare for the two divine beasts to cooperate so perfectly, so how could they not continue? Then everyone saw that the sword god of the Dark City was forced to the brink of collapse by the ice halberd and an inexplicable invisible force. After Ming Xiu hit the ice halberd with the sword god, he took out his golden longsword and slashed a few swords at the formation below. The swords fell on the weak point of the formation. In an instant, the formation made a loud noise and completely collapsed under the bombardment of golden sword energy. The more than 20 disciples inside also ran out quickly, each of them only had lingering fears and happiness after the rest of their lives. Lum Wan had already fallen beside Lum Yubai and Sujin, and one of them gave a 6th-grade medicinal pill that could treat internal injuries and restore vitality. After Ming Xiu broke the formation, he stood beside her, watching the two monsters play with a rare smile in his eyes. It would be a good thing for the stupid dragon to have a good relationship with Lum Wan's monsters in the future. Mo Yan lay on his stomach lazily, and strands of spiritual energy continuously penetrated into his demon mansion and turned into the most quintessential demon power. Since stupid dragon helped him free from the imprisonment since the rebuilding, he absorbed the spiritual energy several times faster. After refining the medicinal pill given by Lum Wan, he has already hit the peak of the 9th rank, and he can advance to the 10th rank with just one opportunity. Seeing that the stupid dragon and the ice halberd cooperated well, his eyes were dark and deep. After getting ready, let the two monsters cultivate a spatial supernatural power that he knew, and it would be much easier to go out and deal with the high-level sword gods of the main body. Both Long Yao and Bing Ji have good bloodlines, but their vision and experience are not even a little bit worse than Mo Yan. In front of the two beasts, Mo Yan can be regarded as a senior. Before using the secret technique to rebuild, to deal with the sword god who was cultivated by the sword god, he could completely disappear from this world with a single thought. Strength, both before and now, is still so important. Seeing that Lu Muabai's pale face gradually returned to normal after taking the medicinal pill, and opened his eyes, Lu Muan was overjoyed. "Brother, are you all right? After taking your medicine pill, the injury is almost healed." Lu Muabai stood up and looked at the baby sister with gentle eyes. "That's good." After Lu Muan finished speaking, he took his hand and took the pulse again. The internal injury can be healed after a day of recuperation. Because the blood spirit was severely injured, Lu Muabai was also seriously injured, and it would take at least half a month to recover on his own. Because Sujin was mentally damaged, it took longer to recover than Lu Muabai. The disciples from the Beiji sect and the Sword sect who came out of the formation came forward and thanked Mingxiu. "Thank you, Brother Qi, for your life-saving grace." Mingxiu still looked like an alienated immortal, and said indifferently, "We are all disciples of the 6 sections. We are both prosperous and damaged. It is right for you to be saved." All the disciples looked at Mingxiu with adoring eyes. He really deserved to be the first genius of the 6th section. Such a 6th grade primordial formation was destroyed in just a few swords. They can be sure that even the 6th grade array mage of the sword saint level in the sect can't be defeated so quickly. Sujin quickly opened his eyes from the recovery, got up and looked at Lu Muan and Qi Xiu with a light smile and said, "Thanks to junior sister and junior brother Qi this time, otherwise I would have died here today. Senior brother is too polite. If you feel bad, you might as well just give me some good things, as the master said." Lu Muan joked. Sujin smiled in a low voice, with a deep smile in Wenya's eyes, "When I go back, you can choose my baby." "Okay. Then I'm welcome." Lu Muan's eyes narrowed into crescents and he smiled, like a fox. Mingxiu looked at her with a funny look and said, "Why do you want to ask, senior brother Su? The treasures in my place are not all yours." Lu Muan glanced at him angrily and said with a smile, "Idiot, what's yours is mine, and what's your brother's is not mine. Of course I'm going to shave it off, or else I won't betray the kindness of my brother-in-law." "That's right." Mingxiu's handsome face showed a brisk smile, and the indulgence and pampering in his eyes could not be concealed. And their interaction also made Lu Muabai and Sujin see that something was wrong, and their smiling faces changed. One is the sister control, and the other is the junior sister control. Seeing that Lu Muan and Qi Xiu were talking and laughing, there was an interaction and atmosphere that only a double cultivator partner could have. Of course, it wasn't Lu Muan who made them blackface, but Qi Xiu who put his hand on Lu Muan's waist. "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 532. Lu Muabai saw Qi Xiu wrapping his hand around Lu Muan's waist naturally, but Lu Muan did not object and frowned slightly. He took a step forward and pulled Lu Muan to his side, but he couldn't see his anger and asked, "Yan'er, what's going on between you and him?" Needless to say, he knew the metaphor of Xixiu. Sujin looked at Qi Xiu with an unpleasant expression in his arms. His master only accepted a precious apprentice. He finally had a close junior sister, so he let this cold-hearted man deceive him? Qi Xiu still had a smile on his face, letting Lu Muabai and Sujin look at it. One is the elder brother of the person he loves, and the other is a senior brother. He can only be friends. Anyway, as long as he is not a rival in love, he can say anything. Lu Muan blinked her eyes and felt a hint of depression from her brother, and said, "Brother, Chi Xiu and I are already together." "When did it happen?" Lu Mubai frowned deeply. Lu Muan thought for a while and replied truthfully, 2 years ago. Lu Mubai and Sujin were surprised to hear this time. The disciples of the Beiji sect and the Sword sect standing behind a few people even widened their eyes. What did they hear? Chi Xiu and Lu Muan are not only a couple, but 2 years ago, when Lu Muan hadn't entered the Beiji sect, the two of them actually got better? This news is simply too exciting. But looking at the two of them, they are a perfect match. As for who is worthy of Chi Xiu, the first genius of the 6 sects, it must be Lu Muan. Lu Mubai pondered for a while, then continued to ask, "Yan'er, are you serious?" "Yes. Brother, Chi Xiu and I are serious." Lu Muan nodded sincerely. Lu Mubai glanced at Chi Xiu and said, "Come with me." "Okay," Ming Xiu replied with a chuckle and nodded. Then everyone saw Lu Mubai and Chi Xiu walking into the distance, and a soundproof formation enveloped the two of them, so that no one else could spy on them. "Junior sister, you are still young," Sujin said earnestly. Lu Muan raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, "Senior brother, I'm not too young. In the mortal world, people at my age who haven't married are old girls." Sujin coughed dryly. "After you ascend to the Guangling world, you can choose a large forest. Why are you hanging on a tree now?" Lu Muan rolled his eyes and said amusingly, "Senior brother, I only have one heart, and it can't hold a large forest. After you go to the Guangling realm, you can go to the flowers and pick a few more flowers." Sujin smiled shyly, "Senior brother, this 6 seedling may have energy to pick as many flowers, but you have a lot of bees staring at your delicate flower." Lu Muan twitched at the corner of his mouth. What is this all about? The others were speechless when they listened to the conversation between the two. Listening to this tone, it was as if they were sure that they would be able to ascend to the vast spiritual world, and is this really the time to talk about flowers and trees? It's still playing in midair. Ling Kong, Bingji and Longyao were almost playing. When the sword god was about to explode his body and his soul came out of his body, Bingji's natural demon fire madly sprayed and enveloped it, preventing him from self-destruction. Longyao tore open a space crack, grabbed the ray of soul power that flew out quickly, and threw it into a black bottle. A bird and a dragon converge. "Stupid dragon, you know what to do with black hands." Although the cooperation just now was very cool, Bingji still disliked Longyao. Longyao glanced at him arrogantly and coldly, and said disdainfully, "The stinky bird is a fart. If I don't take action, it's not over yet." "You stupid dragon is a miscellaneous hair." Bingji rolled up his sleeves and looked like he was about to fight. "Shameless, cheating on my master's high-grade medicinal pills. You saw Lao Tzu's Harry in that eye?" "But you are stinky," Lao Yao pouted. "Don't forget, your master is my master's daughter-in-law, and of course my mistress. You want to take it all by yourself." "Medicine pill, no way." The two spirit pets quarreled in midair like this. Lu Muan caressed her forehead speechlessly. She knew that in the future, with this bird and a dragon, she would never be quiet. After the fight was over, Lu Mubai and Ming Xiu also finished talking. Judging from the appearance of the two, they were still in harmony. Brother Lu Muan held Lu Mubai's hand affectionately, and asked in a Yuanli voice that only two people could hear, "How is it?" "My eyesight is not bad, right? It looks pretty good so far," Lu Mubai said lightly, "but it still needs to be tested." Although he was very annoyed that his younger sister was kidnapped by Chi Xiu was obviously much better than Chi Yuxuan. And looking at his sister's appearance, he fell in love with Chi Xiu, and he would not let go of the discomfort in his heart and would not destroy his sister's karma. Of course, it was not so easy for Chi Xiu to kidnap his precious sister. "Well, he's fine, brother, don't worry." When Sujin saw that Lu Mubai was no longer opposed to him, and he was barely agreeable to Chi Xiu, he sighed. After the sword god was dealt with, everyone rested in place and waited for the flying instruments of Mingxiu to come. The disciples of the Beiji sect and the group of people who are now following Sujin have all arrived, which is the one with the fewest casualties. Junior sister, the sect master has an order, let us follow you and senior brother Su in all our actions in the inheritance land. Are we going to the central area of the inheritance land next? A burly man with 2 giant axes walked out. Go to Lum Wen and ask. He could see that Sujin was also focusing on Lum Wen now. Lum Wen knew about this burly man. This man was Zhou Bei. He was the second-ranked master of the inner door on the pan-breaking list. In addition to Zhou Bei, there was a man with a cold aura and a man with a feminine appearance. Both of them broke the top 5 on the list, and Lum Wen had also heard their names. Well, we went to the core area of the inheritance land with the disciples of the other 5 sections. Now we can set off when they come, Lum Wen said kindly. Okay. After Zhou Bei finished speaking, he returned to his disciples to rest and recover. Lum Wen always felt that an inexplicable, complex and even slightly hostile gaze fell on her body. She searched around and finally found that it was cast by the feminine-looking man in the sect, but it was very hidden. If it weren't for her mental strength is too strong to be found. So I silently wrote down this person in my heart and took more precautions. At the same time, the inheritance place is a ruin not far from the core area. A passage similar to that opened by the 6 sects is looming. After a while, the passage emitted a mass of white light, and the white light wrapped several people and passed in. The leader was a man in Xingyi, and beside him stood a beautiful woman in a black dress. If Lum Wen was here, he would definitely recognize who this person was. The woman in black disappeared inexplicably in the chaos of the war, and she was Gu Yanran, who had been searched for a long time and could not be found. It's just that her original gentle temperament has long since disappeared, and her whole person looks extremely sinister. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 533. After half an hour, the flying instruments of Mingxiu arrived here carrying the disciples of several other sects. All the people got on the flying instruments and rushed towards the core area of the inheritance land. The closer it is to the core area, the higher the level of the monsters, but because there are 2 10th level royal blood on their instruments, they are clean and undisturbed along the way. Along the way, I encountered several waves of disciples from the other 5 sections when they approached the core area, except for the disciples who had died or were seriously injured and found a place to hide. The core disciples of the 6 sects who entered the inheritance land all entered the meditation of flying instruments. Lum Wen has been in the room either refining talismans and medicinal pills or absorbing spiritual energy to improve her cultivation. The closer you are to the place of inheritance, the closer the danger and opportunity are. On this day, as soon as she came out of the state of meditation, she saw the figure of Bingji come out of the space. Master, there is something wrong with that little white face. Immediately, he handed a very secret communication talisman to Lum Wen. This is what the stupid dragon intercepted from the space. Bingji's spatial ability is not as strong as Long Yao's, so Lum Wen borrowed a stupid dragon from Mingxiu for a few days. Lum Wen took the communication talisman and looked at it carefully, and found that there was a special prohibition on it. If it was intercepted by others, as long as it was not opened by special methods, the communication talisman would be destroyed automatically. She used her mental power to penetrate into the talisman little by little, and cracked that layer of prohibition. As soon as the ban was cracked, Lum Wen checked all the contents of the communication talisman. Immediately, her brows were deeply furrowed, and her fingers kept tapping on the table in front of her. Master, what is written on it? Master, we still have half a day to enter the core area of the inheritance land. Lum Wan and Chi Xiu each have a 10th order monster, please prepare to kill. Lum Wan read out the content. Bingji's eyes were cold, that little white face is indeed a spy in the dark market. The little white face in his mouth was the man named Guru Oji who ranked 3rd on the Beiji sect with a feminine appearance. Lum Wan thought about it and went to Mingxiu's room. Have you cracked the communication talisman? Mingxiu asked with a smile. Lum Wan handed him the communication talisman. Do you think we will kill Guru Oji, or let him catch big fish? Mingxiu read the contents of the communication talisman, took out a special communication talisman of the Ming Alliance Chamber of Commerce and said, this is something I asked the Chamber of Commerce to check yesterday, and it may be useful to us. Because this time the top powers of the Ming Alliance Chamber of Commerce also have elite disciples entering the inheritance land, so Mingxiu has a special channel to contact the high-level chambers of commerce in the outer sect. Lum Wan took it over curiously and looked at it carefully. A look of surprise gradually appeared on his face. It turns out that Guru Oji is Gu Yanran's half-brother. Lum Wan narrowed her eyes and said, no wonder everyone in the Gu family was almost killed and injured when the war broke out in Yanzhou Kingdom, but Gu Yanran couldn't be found. It turned out to be taken away by people from the dark market. The Gu family has always been a chess piece buried in the dark market. Gu Yanran is a pure yin body, and it is the best container medium for the demons to come and divide their souls, so this time she may also come to the place of inheritance. Mingxiu cautiously say. If Gu Yanran is occupied by the demon's soul, will she die? Lum Wan asked after a while. No, her soul will coexist with the split soul of the demon race, but her body will be controlled by the other party. But with the grudge between you and her, if she really enters the land of inheritance, she should not let it go. Yours. Mingxiu's eyes condensed with a layer of ice, and the demon race's hand stretched a little too long. Is it easy for the demons to separate their souls? Lum Wan didn't understand the demons on this interface. Mingxiu replied, it shouldn't be easy, otherwise Lan Si and Shen Mufeng would not use projection clones. Jun Luokan, come out and tell us what happened to the split soul that the demons descended? Is there any way to overcome it? Lum Wan tapped the pendant on his neck with his finger and asked. Jun Luokan heard Lum Wan's call as soon as he refined the sword god's soul power captured by Bingji and Long Yao. He sighed and followed a human cultivator. It seemed that he really wanted to betray the demons completely. However, he is very happy to destroy all the plans of the current demon venerable in various small interfaces. When he was there, he never stretched his hands so long. It seems that his good brother has been planning for a long time. A cloud of black mist emerged from the pendant, and a handsome man with a thin body and a pale complexion appeared in the room. Lum Wan looked at Jun Luokan up and down. He looked like a beautiful man, but why didn't he have the evil, arrogant, tyrannical, or ruthless temperament that a demon venerable should have? It also gives a feeling of weakness. It is no wonder that the throne of demon venerable will be taken away, and the 3 souls will be separated. It is no wonder that the appearance of this little white face has the majesty of demon venerable. Jun Luokan naturally saw the suspicion and disgust in Lum Wan's eyes. His face darkened instantly. What are you thinking about? Lum Wan listened to his question, and decisively asked the idea. Jun Luokan twitched the corners of his mouth, who stipulated that a demon venerable must possess these 2 qualities. What's more, he is only the main soul of the wrecked demon venerable. How can a soul be evil and tyrannical? As for brutality, that should be something hidden in the bones. Who would be so idiot who often shows on his face? There is a big difference between the coming of the demons and the projection clones. Jun Luokan avoided the question of the temperament of the demon raised by Lum Wan and began to explain. The projection clone/body just uses a secret method of the upper realm to project the power body on the small interface. Although it will also affect the main body, it is not big, but there is a big drawback, that is, the power body of the avatar is cultivated. It cannot exceed the level of Sword God, otherwise it will be smashed by the laws of space. Although the conditions for the separation of the soul are harsh, It can enable the possessed pure yin body to step up to the high-level sword god, or even the peak of the sword god, and still be able to use some secret techniques of the body. Of course, the disadvantage is that once the body of the soul-splitting medium is disappointed, and the split soul of the demon race is destroyed, the body will also be greatly damaged, Jun Luokan said. Lum Wen was silent and asked, are there any other conditions besides pure yin for the separation of souls to come? There is still a need for demonic infusion. If, as you said, a woman with a pure yin body enters the inheritance land, then they must complete the infusion of demonic energy and let the demons from the upper realm descend, Jun Luokan replied. Ming Xiu frowned slightly. Do you mean that there is devil energy in the land of inheritance? Yes, there is an altar in the deepest part of the inheritance land. It was left by the demons during the interface war. There is an unstable passage connecting the upper realm. Living creatures cannot pass through, but the demonic energy can be poured in. He pursed his lips and said, I was physically damaged by the sneak attack. When the three souls were scattered, the main soul escaped to the land of inheritance through that passage, otherwise I would have lost my soul long ago. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 534. After listening to Jun Luokan's words, in contacting Guru Oji's identity, Lum Wen was willing to feel uncomfortable in her heart as if a mortal enemy appeared from Guyan Ran. Fortunately, she had let Bingji and Long Yao hide in the space to monitor Guru Oji's every move, otherwise it would be hard to think of Guyan Ran as a woman. Unexpectedly, Guyan Ran was unable to guess the true purpose of the demon race. It seems that the main purpose of this dark market is to bring Guyan Ran to accept the arrival of the last high-level demons, Lum Wen said with a frown. Ming Xiu nodded. If there is an unstable channel in the inheritance land that can be filled with magical energy, then they should have entered the central area at this time. By the way, in order to infuse the demonic soul, if you want to forcibly elevate the cultivation of the possessed person to the level of the sword god, you need to absorb the power of the essence of many sword masters, Jun Luokan interjected. Lum Wen's eyes revealed a trace of clarity. No wonder every time the disciples of the six sects are besieged by assassins in the dark market, they use the sinister formation of the Juyuan sect, originally to collect the disciples of the six sections the power of essence. It seems that the inheritance land has been opened in advance, and the only chance to open it is the conspiracy of the demons in the dark market. Ming Xiu narrowed his eyes and said dangerously. It seems that this is the situation now. The disciples of our six sects are used as nourishment by them. Lum Wen's face turned cold. The dark market was really a good idea. Ming Xiu nodded and said, the higher the talent, the stronger the sword master's essence, the purer the power. The dark market should have planned such a plan for a long time. But they are doomed to fail when they meet us. The corner of Lum Wen's lips curled up, and they had completely destroyed the layout of the dark market in the plan to collect the power of essence. Ming Xiu played with the communication talisman in his hand and asked, Yan'er, can this communication talisman be restored? Okay. Lum Wen turned her eyes and asked with a smile, do you want to lure them to kill us? Well, it will be good for us to let them lose more elites and enter the central area. Ming Xiu's rank on the talisman is not as high as Lum Wen's, and after thinking about it, he continued to ask, can you tamper with the content of the talisman? Other talisman masters may not be able to, but I can, Lum Wen said with a confident smile. The two tacitly guessed each other's thoughts, and Lum Wen started talking and changed the two 10th order monsters in the communication talisman into one. After doing this, the two gathered the most reliable and strongest disciples of the six sects together, and said that Guru Oji was a spy, and arranged a counter-attack plan. An hour later, a very concealed communication talisman arrived in Guru Oji's hand. He checked it carefully and found nothing before opening it to check. In another room where the formation was arranged, Lum Wen had already copied the contents of the communication talisman in Guru Oji's hand. I didn't expect junior brother Gu to be a spy in the dark market. The dark market is really all-pervasive. Zhou Bei's rude face had a bit of suffocation. He hated betrayers the most. The man next to him, who exuded a cold air, was silent and then asked, "Should we kill Guru Oji first? It is a hidden danger to keep such a person." This person's name is Li Buletin, and he was the one who snatched the heavy water before Lum Weian, but now he has put aside his grievances against her, and it is serious to be consistent with the outside world. Why do we need to startle the snake? Maybe we can still use Guru Oji in the future. A beautiful woman with a colorful parrot standing on her shoulders chuckled softly. Besides, I have already put a kind of innocence on him. A tasteless spirit poison. When the time comes, he will surely die. Junior sister Xiaoxiu's use of poison is superb. This is a good way. It will not startle the snake, but also let Guru Oji, a traitor, die at that time. The disciple of Yaozong agreed. Lum Weian also agreed with this plan. Xiaoxiu was known as a poisonous girl in the Beiji sect's inner section. She had been at odds with Guru Oji in the sect before. Even if she discovered that he secretly poisoned him, it should not arouse the suspicion of the other party. Beauty, beauty, the seven-colored parrot on Xiaoxiu's shoulder suddenly looked at Bingji and shouted a few times. Xiaoxiu really had the heart to strangle it to death. This color embryo had a bad idea to hit someone, and it even hit Lum Weian's colorful parrot. The most important thing is that people are just transformed into colorful parrots. The main body is a 10th order Iceluan mythical beast. Can it be shouted indiscriminately? Beauty, beauty, the colorful parrot continued to shout excitedly. Daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law. Bingji, what's your name? Being called by the colorful parrot, the originally serious atmosphere was much more relaxed. Lum Weian raised her eyebrows and looked at Bingji, teasing. She didn't forget that the stinky thing was teasing a beauty when she saw Mingxiu for the first time, but she didn't expect the position to be changed today. Bingji's face turned black instantly, and he glared viciously at the colorful parrot, who was still squinting at him, and threatened, "I'm watching Laozi gouging out your eyeballs, and then yelling at Laozi to cut your tongue." The beauty is so fierce, the beauty is so fierce. The colorful parrot flapped its wings and shouted again, but the infatuation in his eyes did not disappear. On the contrary, it was even worse. Obviously he liked fierce beauties. Usually, only Bingji molested others, but he never expected that he would be molested by a parrot that was not even a monster. He really wanted to slap him to death. Seeing the killing intent in Bingji's eyes, Xiaoxiu hurriedly grabbed her colorful parrot from the top of her head and stuffed it into the spirit beast ring. Embarrassedly smiled at Lum Weian. "This parrot is spoiled by me to speak like this. Unobstructed. It's all right. I think your parrot is very cute." Watching the ice halberd deflate, Lum Weian and the other spirit pets were all gloating. Others couldn't help but laugh. Xiaoxiu's colorful parrot is really a living treasure. Ha ha. Long Yao laughed loudly in the space. "Stinky bird, that parrot calls your daughter-in-law, so you should obey." Bingji's face was even darker, and he replied fiercely, "Shut up." "Beauty, beauty," Long Yao continued to provoke. "If you don't shut up, I'll let Boss Mo clean you up," Bingji said through gritted teeth. When Long Yao heard Bingji's words, he looked at Mo Yan, who was a noble, glamorous, and lazy, and swallowed. "Humph, I'm too lazy to get to know you like a stinky bird." Bingji narrowed his eyes and said, "Don't think I don't know. You want to think about our boss Mo, and make your dreams come true, stupid dragon." "You all shut up." The bickering of one bird and one dragon could be heard by several spiritual pets, Lum Weian, and Mingxiu. Mo Yan listened to them more and more, and spoke coldly. Long Yao touched his nose and scolded Bingji in his heart, but kept his mouth shut. What Bingji was most afraid of was Mo Yan, who glared fiercely at Long Yao in the space and stopped talking. Lum Weian rubbed his brows, with a bit of helplessness and connivance in his eyes. These two idiots together are indeed even more stupid. Fortunately, Mo Yan can scare them. After half a day, the flying instrument drove into the central area of the inheritance land. My evil Imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Land by Gezi. Chapter 535. When the flying instrument entered the center of the inheritance land, a sudden strong force not only prevented the flying instrument from advancing, but also shrouded it in place. All the disciples walked out of the room to check on the top of the boat after discovering the strangeness. Formation, we are trapped by the formation, a disciple of Hao Yuezong exclaimed. The others also showed dignified and nervous expressions, and Chi took out the magic weapon and slashed the transparent mask ruthlessly. It's a pity that this kind of power not only did not cause any damage to the formation, but all the UN force was actually sucked into the formation. Then, more than 30 people in black were exposed to the open space one after another, each holding an identical auxiliary magic weapon and forming a blessing to support the formation. Before waiting for the disciples to continue to respond, the formation of light began to operate. It's the primordial formation again, a disciple of Jianzong said with a panicked face. I feel that the essence of my body is starting to drain again. The other people immediately took back the Yuan Li they were about to mobilize. Ming Xiu and Lum Wan stood in the middle of the disciples without making a sound or taking any action. GG. A strange and cold laughter continued to echo, and then everyone saw a woman with all white hair but a very young face appearing in the air not far from the formation. The disciples of your six sects are not very good, he continued with a sneer, but this gathering is exactly what this old man wants, and it is more convenient to catch you all in one go. This person's body is female, but the voice is a male voice with a strange feeling, and it is obviously a sword god who is possessed by other people. What are you proud of, you unjust old immortal? Bingji transformed into an elegant and handsome man, and looked at the sword god opposite him coldly. You are the only sword god here today. If you have a companion, call out quickly, it saves the young master that he will have to make another shot later. Humph. A Bing Luan who has just been promoted dares to be so arrogant with the old man. You are really courting death. The woman who was smiling suddenly turned gloomy. To clean up you, the old man alone is enough. They received news that the other party had a rank 10 monster that had just been promoted. Just in case, there was still a sword god hiding, but he was conceded that he would be able to refine the souls of all the 6 disciples here. The 6th rank Juyuan formation could not trap the 10th rank Ice Halberd, which possessed the power of space, so he dodged and fell beside the sword god and quickly formed a ball. Long Yao has been hiding in the space, and when he found a high-level aura fluctuation not far away, he showed a playful smile. Stinky bird, there is a sword god hiding 500 meters in front of you, he spoke to the Ice Halberd. Bingji squinted his eyes, instantly transformed into his body, and spewed out an ice blue flame towards the sword god in front of him in that direction. Stupid dragon, let's work together again. He couldn't deal with 2 sword gods with the strength of the Ice Halberd, so he was very sensible and invited Long Yao, who was not pleasing to the eye, to join the battle group. Humph, is it possible to expect you to kill 2 of them? Long Yao's meaning was obvious, he would take action. Bingji's face turned black. Damn stupid dragon, after coming down, he must go to Boss Mo to blacken this stupid dragon. Seeing this, the woman immediately moved her body to avoid the Ice Halberd's natural fire, but found that the space was distorted, and his footsteps were pulled back abruptly. The ferocious flames instantly enveloped his body. Although he quickly opened a layer of body-protecting heavenly gang outside his body, he was still injured by the aftermath of the flames. The sword god who was hiding in the dark frowned, looked at the sky, did not intend to delay any longer, and immediately moved behind the Ice Halberd to prepare for a sneak attack. A palm wind with 10% of the power of the mid-level sword god suddenly fell on the head of the Ice Halberd. The Ice Halberd didn't lift his eyelids, and kept fluttering his wings and releasing ice picks to attack the sword god who was shrouded in flames in front of him. The person who attacked was stunned, and suddenly had a bad premonition. Sure enough, the space above the head of the Bingluan mythical beast suddenly distorted, and the palm wind unexpectedly changed its direction and attacked him. Unprepared, although he sacrificed a defensive shield, he was still hurt by the wind of his own palm and spat out a mouthful of blood. Who is so despicable? Get out of here for me, he roared and used his mental power to explore the surroundings but found no breath. At this time, the two sword gods in the Dark City also found that they had been fooled. There must be a 10th order monster who understands the power of space hidden to attack them. You immortal, you are a despicable thing yourself, and you are too embarrassed to shout, Bingji snorted coldly. The two looked at each other and quickly converged to launch a ferocious attack on the ice halberd. However, most of the moves were either resolved by the ice halberd, or Long Yao, who had hidden his black hand, used the space secret method of Mo Yan to devour the pest. The two monsters clearly had the upper hand and continued to deal with each other and toy with each other. On the flying instrument, Mingxiu and Lum Wen kept forming seals, and an orange fire unicorn and a golden fire dragon drilled out of their bodies and flew toward the two directions of the formation. Then the two array plates flew out, and the two kept printing into the array plate. I'll control the formation, you can set up the formation, Lum Wen said to Mingxiu when she was ready. Mingxiu nodded, and a red flag flew out of his sleeve and slowly unfolded. The golden fire dragon was divided into 9 under the control of his mind and ran towards several directions of the formation. The orange fire unicorn dashed straight to the formation where the 6th rank restraint formation was arranged, constantly releasing the power of spirit fire to nibble away. Lum Wen continued to condense the Dharma seals against the two array plates, and the movements of Mingxiu's hands did not stop. Everyone saw that the two did not say a word, but they cooperated seamlessly and could not help but admire them. In particular, the disciples who knew the formation method were watching the two tacitly cooperate to arrange the formation. The time for a stick of incense is less than that, and the light of the formation is once again prosperous. The disciples of the 6 sects on the flying instrument suddenly felt extremely relaxed. Not only did their essence disappear, but instead, strands of aura mixed with the power of essence penetrated into their bodies. On the contrary, the killers in the dark market who were blessing the formation were on the contrary. They used the body as a medium to use the formation to absorb the essence of the disciples of the 6 sects. But now not only is there not a trace of essence inhaled, but the essence in the body is rushing towards the formation like a deflated ball. Withdraw from the formation, quickly withdraw from the formation. The face of the later sword god who was fighting Bingluan changed greatly, and he immediately shouted to the more than 30 dark market killers below who were maintaining the formation. Those more than 30 people obeyed the order to stop injecting UN power into the magical instruments in their hands, but after they stopped blessing the formation, they still did not change the status quo of being sucked back by the essence of UN power. Want to withdraw? Lum Wen smiled sarcastically. It's too late, let the disciples of our 6 sects come to taste the power of your essence. The power of sucking essence is not only useful for the demons in the dark market, but also for the disciples of the 6 sects. It's just that this method is too sinister, except for demons and ghosts. Generally no sword masters will use them, otherwise they will be haunted by demons in the future. This time, they can also be regarded as repaying their own body with their own way, so they will not be affected by their inner demons. Each disciple frantically absorbs and refines the essence of each other's energy. Standing on the roof of the boat, Guru Oji's eyes sank, and his heart became ruthless, and he quickly moved to Lum Wen's back and waved his palm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 536. Guru Oji's speed was very fast, his face was a little hideous, and 10% of his palms roared out. Lum Wen was controlling the two arrays, and his hands were constantly forming seals, so he couldn't fight back at all. Just when many people were wide-eyed and frightened by the sudden situation, two people appeared behind Lum Wen and attacked Guruoji at the same time. Sujin is number 1 on the Pan Soul list. Even if Guruoji hid his strength before, he is not his opponent, so the palm wind was smashed by Sujin. Lu Mubai swung a palm from the other side and landed heavily on Guruoji's body. He spewed a mouthful of blood and took a few steps back. At the back, Zhou Bei, who was absorbing Jing Yuan, glanced at him, pulled out his giant axe and slashed towards Guruoji. However, Guruoji was not a vegetarian after being a spy for so many years. He quickly used a defensive magic weapon to resist Zhou Bei's attack. Just when he was about to commit suicide and to reveal his trump card to attack Lum Wen again, an inexplicable pain suddenly came from his chest, which stopped him for a long time. Then Xiao Xiu walked in front of him, playing with a crystal-clear yellow goo worm. Guruoji, the fate of the betrayal is that life is worse than death. Seeing this, the colorful parrot on her shoulder immediately hummed an inexplicable little tune, and then everyone saw Guruoji rolling on the ground with an even more sinister face, blood spilling from his mouth, obviously bitten by himself. Xiao Xiu, are you betraying me? He looked up at Xiao Xiu laboriously. Xiao Xiu nodded, yes. From the time you passed the message to the people in the dark market, I poisoned you, a spy. Immediately, she sneered disdainfully, do you think your plan is successful? You still want to sneak up on junior sister Lu, and you don't even look at your own virtue. She hated Guruoji very much. This man once snatched her brother's chance during a trial in a secret realm, and even made his brother fall because of it. In the Beiji sect, the disciples could not kill each other, so she was always looking for an opportunity to take revenge on Guruoji. Now that Lum Wen has given her this opportunity, she naturally has to seize it. Guruoji is a spy in the dark market, and even if he is killed, no one at the top of the sect will blame him, and she did not want this person to die in the hands of others, so she poisoned her in advance. Junior sister Lu, can Guruoji leave it to me? After thinking about it, Xiao Xiu looked at Lum Wen and asked. She wanted to take Guruoji to her brother's grave and use his fresh human head to pay homage. Okay, you can do whatever you want. Lum Wen knew the grievances between the two from Ming Xiu's information, and was not ready to intervene. Guruoji was very hostile to her, and he secretly planned to attack the Lu family. All this must have come from the Gu family and Gu Yanran. It was really too cheap to let him die like this, and it would be good for Xiao Xiu to torture him. Lum Wen, my sister will definitely make your life worse than death. Guruoji was captured by Xiao Xiu, raised his head and looked at Lum Wen fiercely, the hatred in his eyes undisguised. If it wasn't for this woman's Gu family who had already captured the Yanzhou kingdom and destroyed the Lu family, her sister would not have been destroyed by her Danshan, and taken by the top executives of the dark market to be a carrier. It's all because of this woman. Lum Wen raised her eyebrows and chuckled, I really want to see how your sister made my life worse than death, but I know that in the future you will definitely be free from the fate of life better than death. She recognized her hostile attack on her, but the two Gu family brothers and sisters actually tried to attack the Lu family, which completely stepped on her bottom line. Her eyes narrowed, and a dangerous dark light flashed across her. Gu Yanran must not stay this time. Soon, the battle ended in a one-sided situation. The two possessed sword gods were drawn out of their soul power by Bingji and Longyao and threw them to Jun Luokan for refining. Lum Wen and Ming Xiu joined forces to crack the other party's 6th grade Zhu Yuan formation, and joined the formation to absorb and refine the essence of the more than 30 dark market killers to the disciples of the 6th sect. When the hair of the more than 30 dark market killers was all white and their faces gradually withered and aged, the formation also collapsed. The disciples of the 6th sect sacrificed their magic weapons to behead the more than 30 people, leaving no future troubles. Senior brother Qi, junior sister Lu, it's all thanks to you this time. Several prestigious disciples thanked the two. If Lu Muan had not discovered the identity of Guru Oji's spy in advance and cracked the communication talisman, they would not have been prepared in advance. If it wasn't for Lu Muan and Qi Xiu's spiritual pets to contain the other's two sword gods, and the two worked together to crack the formation, they would have lost their essence like the current dark market killers and become dead. This is what we should do, Lu Muan said with a faint smile. Now that we have entered the central area of the inheritance land, the killers in the dark market have basically died. Brothers and sisters, let's look for opportunities. After entering the central area, there are countless inheritance halls waiting for everyone to look for opportunities. If they are in a group of people, it will not only be inconvenient, but it will also lead to conflicts over competing for opportunities. Almost all of the killers who entered the land of inheritance from the dark market died in their hands, and it was unlikely that they would jointly arrange a prison formation. Obviously, it is impossible for the top management of the dark market to be distracted and attack the disciples of the 6 sections. It is better to be separated at this time. Before, Xi and Mingxiu had gathered all the disciples to make them a kind of force against the enemy, which could be regarded as a good relationship, and to lead out the last wave of killers in the dark market to catch them all in one go. The others were stunned when they heard her words, but no one objected. The ultimate purpose of their entering the land of inheritance is not to deal with the killers in the dark market, but to find opportunities for breakthroughs. Now that the killers in the dark market are basically dead, it is not good for them to continue to focus on finding opportunities. Junior sister Lu, senior brother Qi, we have written down your life-saving feelings. Feel free to speak up in the future when it is useful, a core disciple of Jianzong said gratefully. People from other sects also promised that if the two of them hadn't really died now, even if the two of them didn't care, they would have written it down. Okay, if we have trouble with you in the future, we will definitely not be polite. Lu Muan smiled sincerely. Being able to befriend the elite disciples of the 6 inner sects is beneficial to the Lu family. Mingxiu smiled faintly and did not speak. He did not care about the returns of these people. The disciples of the 6 sects did not leave immediately, but after refining the essence in their bodies, they left one after another in all directions in the central area. The 2 Luo brothers, Lu Mubai and Sujin, did not leave. They were going to be with Lu Muan. Jun Luokan said that 3 months later is the best time to infuse demonic energy. Let's take advantage of this time to find opportunities in the inheritance land, Lu Muan suggested. The current Guyan Ran's body has not yet reached the conditions for the arrival of the demon's high-level souls, and needs to be tempered for 3 months in a place with deep demonic energy. Therefore, they still have time to quickly improve their strength in preparation for the fierce battle in the near future. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 537. The reason why Mingxiu and Lu Muan didn't plan to destroy the demons in the Dark City now is to give the most important blow when the demons are most vulnerable. Junior sister, let's split up, Sujin said. We will meet here in 3 months to find the altar in the dark market together. Several of them have heard Lu Muan say that the dark market is going to infuse the demon body to separate the soul, and they have also spread the news to the place of inheritance. There are many inheritance halls in the land of inheritance, and they will miss many opportunities when they gather together. It is better to search for them individually and gather at the time. Okay, Lu Muan nodded in agreement. Lu Mubai and the Luo family brothers did not object. After all, there is still a great chance of inheritance. Afterwards, several people separated. Only Lu Muan and Mingxiu were still together. Bingji, you go to this place to pick a few moonshine plants and come back. Because of the time constraints, Lu Muan did not ask Sujin to go to that place to find moonshine grass, but handed it over to Bingji to do it. Moonlight grass is not only useful to Sujin, the main medicine for Luo Yes eyes happens to be moonlight grass, so such a precious spirit grass must be obtained first before you can rest assured. Bingji took the jade slip and said with a smile, "Don't worry, master, I will definitely bring it back." After he finished speaking, he looked at the map and turned into an ice blue bird and disappeared here as soon as it flapped its wings. Let's go to the inheritance hall, that Jun Luokan said. Lu Muan said to Ming Xiu. Ming Xiu chuckled and nodded, okay. Then Jun Luokan came out of the pendant and transformed into a handsome man and took Lu Muan and the two to the hall where he marked his soul. The hall was deep in the central area, and many restrictions were placed around it. Under the leadership of Jun Luokan, they all staggered one by one without making a move. Soon, a hall with a quaint and mysterious atmosphere appeared in front of them. This is the inheritance hall of the sword god, Ming Xiu said, feeling the breath from the hall. Jun Luokan replied, yes, although I have left a soul imprint here, no one else can enter, but I can't open the inheritance inside. So, it's up to you. He looked at the two with a half smile. Forgot to tell you, this is a joint burial inheritance hall, and there is not only a sword god inheritance in it, but a pair of double cultivation companion swords. God left. Lu Muan gave Jun Luokan a meaningful look. This guy must have done it on purpose. If she hadn't promised him to come to the inheritance place, presumably the inheritance hall here would have disappeared completely with the last opening of the inheritance place. Do you know what the inheritance inside is? The inheritance inside is absolutely useful to the two of you. The two sword gods have left 3 side halls, namely Formation, Alchemy, and Tool Refining. Jun Luokan paused and said, there is also a main hall that is dedicated to the arts. Law. Is it high grade? Lu Muan asked. Jun Luokan shrugged and said, my previous soul power was too weak, and I fell asleep not long after I attached the sword skill, so I'm not really familiar with the situation inside. Lu Muan rolled his eyes at him, this idiot. Let's go in and have a look. After hearing what Jun Luokan said, Ming Xiu also became interested. Jun Luokan made a few complicated handprints on the main hall, and a strand of black silk came out of his sleeve and disappeared into the inheritance hall. In an instant, the door to the hall of inheritance opened automatically, and the 3 walked in. Look for the chance yourself. I'll go first to find the part of the soul hidden in the hall. Jun Luokan had an excited look in his eyes. He was scattered by the person because of his split soul before, so the main soul would weakly possess the sword skill. Except for the split soul left in the vast spirit world, the split souls that traveled through the space with him were all trapped. Sleep in this hall. As long as they are all collected and unified, his soul power will be more solid and stronger, and his strength will also be upgraded to the sword god cultivation base. Lu Muan nodded, go, I'll call you when we leave. Okay. Seeing Lu Muan agree, Jun Luokan turned into a black light and disappeared in one direction. He has already felt the call of a split soul. Yan'er, shall we go to that hall first? Come next to each other from left to right, Lu Muan suggested with a smile. It is good. The two walked to a side hall on the far left, with a plaque refining hall hanging on it. A layer of restriction was set on the door, and the two of them worked together to break it open quickly, but when the door was pushed, a male voice of ancient vicissitudes sounded outside the hall. If you want to accept the inheritance, you must have a soul-connected dual cultivator partner. If not, please leave quickly. If you print your own soul power on the door, you can enter the hall for inheritance if you meet the requirements. Lu Muan and Ming Xiu looked at each other, put their hands on the door tacitly, and the power of the soul was immediately printed. After a while, the tightly closed door opened automatically, and closed again after the two walked in. This artifact refining hall is not big, but there are many things, and there are many refined holy artifacts and holy treasures scattered around. There is a refining furnace in the front, and there are 2 jade slips next to the refining furnace. The two walked in, and the 2 jade slips flew up by themselves and fell into their hands. Be careful, Ming Xiu said to Lu Muan before checking the jade slip. Lu Muan nodded and probed into his spiritual power, but he had reservations. Gradually, her mind was attracted by the things in the jade slip. The jade slip was the inheritance of the refining tool left by the female cultivator. It recorded many secret refining techniques in ancient times, as well as the materials and refining methods of several advanced talismans. Lum Wan saw it with great interest. Ming Xiu also reacted the same way, so the two of them sat cross-legged and calmed down for a little bit of enlightenment. 5 days later, Lum Wan opened her eyes, and at that moment, the jade in her hand was reduced to powder. Ming Xiu finished her inheritance 2 days earlier. After all, his artifact refining skills were much higher than hers. "How is it?" he asked Lum Wan with a soft smile in his eyes. "After reading the artifact refining method in this inheritance, some of the problems I encountered as an artifact refiner have been solved." Lum Wan had a brisk smile on her face, obviously having gained a lot. "Me too," Ming Xiu asked with a smile. "Did your jade slip mention 2 heritage sacred treasures?" "I mentioned it. Let's open it." Lum Wan nodded. So the two tacitly recited a difficult formula in their mouths, and they poured a soul power into the refining furnace together. Boom! After a loud noise, a dazzling azure light emitted from the originally dark refining furnace, which immediately turned into 2 jade pendants and fell into the hands of the two of them. "This is a pair of top-quality defensive holy treasures. Let's give them to you for self-defense," a soft female voice sounded. Lum Wan and Ming Xiu knew that this was the last spiritual consciousness left by the 2 sword god seniors, and it would dissipate automatically after the inheritance was completed. The two put away the dragon and phoenix pendants in their hands, bowed in the air, and went to the second side hall. "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 538. Above the second side hall is also a plaque alchemy hall. The two opened the second hall according to the method of opening the first side hall. Inside, there were some pill bottles lying in disorder. Lum Wan picked up a few bottles and opened them. Most of them were 4th or 5th grade pills, but he didn't dislike them and put them all away. She also did not let go of the magic weapon in the first hall. After she went out and returned to the sect to return to her life, she was going to return to Lu's house. These things are not very useful to her, but they are very useful to Lu's family. 2 jade slips were also placed in the innermost part of the hall, and the two of them activated it tacitly. This time, it was Lum Wan who first comprehended the contents of the jade slip, and only opened his eyes after 2 days of meditation. The two opened the alchemy furnace in the side hall according to what Yu Jian said at the end, and 2 bottles of medicinal herbs flew out from it. After opening, a strong dangxiang wafts out and spreads instantly. "This is a 7th grade medicinal pill." Lum Wan's eyes lit up. Although she is now able to refine 6th grade high-level medicinal pills, she is still a long way from refining 7th grade medicinal pills. Ming Xiu raised an arc on his lips. "This is a 7th grade soul essence pill. After taking it, it will not only help to enhance the soul power, but also help improve the success rate when the sword saint attacks the sword god." "Good stuff." Lum Wan put away the bottle in his hand and smiled. "I can use it later." "Let's go to the next side hall." Ming Xiu nodded and said with a smile. "Kindness." After opening the formation hall in the same way, there were 3 jade slips in the innermost. The two first realized the jade slips that flew into their hands. 5 days later, Lum Wan and Ming Xiu opened their eyes at the same time. There are quite a few 7th rank formations in this inheritance, and even 2 8th rank formations. Lum Wan sighed. It seems that these 2 sword god seniors have high attainments in formations. Well, according to what the jade slip said at the end, the jade slip also has the inheritance of the combination attack formation. Ming Xiu pointed to the jade slip that was covered with a layer of transparent mask on the table. Lum Wan's eyes were full of interest, and he said with a smile, "Let's open it up." "It is good." The two opened the mask according to the method instructed by their respective jade slips at the end. The jade slip, which was lying still quietly, instantly turned into 2 white lights and disappeared between the eyebrows of the two of them. Then the two entered a place that looked like an independent space, and there were array diagrams in it. The two peoples comprehension one by one, each time they start and end at the same time, their tacit understanding and comprehension are very strong. 10 days later, the two comprehended and inherited all the array diagrams in the space collapsed and dissipated in an instant, and they also came out of the state of meditation. The formation skills of the two seniors are really strong, Lum Wan said in admiration. Not only are there attack and defense formations for combined strikes, but there are also many formations from rank 6 to rank 8 to help sword masters advance. Yeah. With this formation, we can help many people advance to Sword Saint and Sword God. Ming Xiu's eyes flashed. The two benefited a lot from the inheritance of the formation hall. Not only did they learn a lot of ancient formation inheritance, but they also got the formation diagram of the Lingyuan promotion formation. Lum Wan blinked. As soon as I advance to the Sword Saint cultivation level, the formation will also be able to enter the 7th rank formation master. Your talent is already very good. If it weren't for your cultivation, you would have been a 7th rank array master and alchemist. Ming Xiu's long and narrow phoenix eyes were dyed with a bit of pride. Lum Wan smiled helplessly and said, yeah. Every time I go somewhere, my cultivation level is always at the bottom. You are already very powerful to have such a cultivation base when you are less than 20 years old. Ming Xiu did not comfort Lum Wan, but told the truth. Lum Wan's talent is placed in the Guangling world where spiritual energy is abundant and resources are abundant. The speed and strength of cultivation are also outstanding among the younger generation of genius disciples. If she was born in the Guangling world, she would definitely have entered the Sword God cultivation base by now. After Lum Wan passed on the ancient techniques left by the Sword God in the 3 side halls, the bottleneck of the great consummation stuck in the stage of forming pills also reached its peak, and she found that she was about to break through. Mingxiu, I have practiced a special technique, and I feel like I'm going to break through. Lum Wan didn't hide it from her man. I found that there is a place in this hall where the spiritual energy is much stronger than the outside world. You go there to break through, and I will guard the gate for you. Ming Xiu took Lum Wan's hand and walked in one direction. Lum Wan felt the temperature from the other party's big hand, and a warm current rippled down the lake in his heart. The place of inheritance is full of countless opportunities, and time is very precious in comparison, but Ming Xiu is willing to give up to find opportunities alone and to guard her cultivation breakthrough. The two walked through more than a dozen corridors and arrived at an empty room full of spiritual energy. This room is the training room of the two sword god seniors. Lum Wan guessed that there was nothing in the room except the 2 futons. Ming Xiu nodded. It should be. The relationship between the 2 seniors is very good. I think so too. You can break through. I'll go outside to guard the gate for you, Ming Xiu said thoughtfully. Lum Wan has a special exercise. He didn't want to spy on her, he just hoped that she could succeed. Lum Wan's heart moved, and she took his hand with a smile like a flower and said, the spiritual energy in the training room is 10 times that of the outside. You can guard for me inside, and you can also practice along the way. Since she decided to form a double cultivation partner with Ming Xiu, and she really liked him, then she would give her all the trust. She is the only one who knows the cultivation techniques in the immortal cultivation world, and when the nascent soul cultivator is condensed, she will find out. It is better to let him know now, which is also a trust. Ming Xiu was stunned, a rare evil and charming sunny smile appeared on his handsome face. He kissed Lum Wan's forehead and said from his heart, Yan'er, thank you for your trust. We decided from opening our hearts that we are one when we are together. It is necessary to trust you, Lum Wan replied with a soft smile. An unspeakable emotion fluctuated in Ming Xiu's heart. How could his smoke make him not love him? From childhood to adulthood, it was the most difficult thing to trust in his identity, and Lum Wan's wholehearted trust made him find a sense of spiritual connection. He was extremely fortunate to have come to Tianling continent and met Lum Wan. Well, I will always trust Yan'er. Mingxiu held Lum Wan in his arms and made an oath, never leave, never give up, never betray. Okay, I believe you, Lum Wan hugged him back, if you don't leave me, you won't give up and never betray. Mingxiu felt that I believe in you was the most beautiful love words he had ever heard, so he lowered his head and kissed her lips before letting go. The two looked at each other and smiled tacitly, and Lum Wan went to sit on a futon in the training room. Then he took out a Ningyiang pill specially refined to improve the chance of conceiving and took it. He closed his eyes and began to communicate with the world's spiritual energy with his body. After a while, the spirit gathering array in the training room automatically opened, and strands of spiritual energy madly penetrated into Lum Wan's body and was absorbed by her, and transformed into the most pure spiritual energy. Mingxiu glanced at his lover tenderly, and went to sit on the futon in the distance, while vigilantly guarding the surroundings to prevent accidents, while practicing. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 539. One day after half a month, the spiritual energy in the training room fluctuated frequently, the spirit gathering formation kept running, and the surrounding spiritual energy poured into Lum Wan's body frantically. A layer of colorful warm light was constantly overflowing and flickering around her, and the spiritual energy lingered around her with the naked eyes. At this time, Lum Wan seemed to have a psychedelic color, mysterious and unusual. When the spiritual energy in the training room was abnormal, Mingxiu immediately withdrew from the practice and sent the stupid dragon to guard outside. He looked up at the vision that appeared on Lum Wan's body, his eyes showed surprise, and then his thin lips curled into an arc. The natal array flag drilled out of the body and slowly unfolded, and he injected a strong UN force into the array flag. The array flag made a cheerful hum and flew to the spirit gathering array to bless the array. He took out a large bag of middle-grade spirit stones and swung it down. The entire training room was covered with spirit stones, and then he kept making seals to assist Lum Wan in breaking through. With the blessing of the spiritual gathering array, not only the spiritual energy around the main hall poured into the training room, but also the spiritual energy in the inheritance place outside the main hall was also constantly surging towards the training room of the main hall. With more aura support, the green sea of fog in Lum Wan's dungeon rolled layer by layer. In the sky above the hall, there were also colorful spiritual clouds. The spiritual energy of the spiritual clouds was absorbed by Lum Wan, not only did not decrease, but attracted more spiritual clouds to gather. Not long after, many people in the central area of Inheritance Land found that the spiritual energy around them was constantly rushing in one direction. In the distance in the sky, colorful spiritual clouds floated, and strips of colorful clouds crossed the sky, splendid and dazzling, like a dream. What is this? Many people looked at this direction, and doubts arose in their hearts. In the deepest place of inheritance, in an altar, on the 9 black crystal pillars sat 9 men who exuded coercion. 9 black crystal pillars form 9 palaces. In the center is a deep well surrounded by black mist. There are 3 beautiful women sitting at the bottom of the well. A trace of cold and evil energy erupted from the bottom of the well and wrapped around the 3 of them. Among them, a woman in black absorbed the magic energy the fastest. On the black crystal column, a man in blue clothes opened his eyes, took out a mirror from his sleeve, and after exhaling a breath of essence, the mirror gradually began to become clear. The other 8 also opened their eyes and stared at the image cast by the mirror. They saw that the sky above a forbidden inheritance hall was full of visions they had never seen before. Is there a strange treasure born here? One of the men who looked young but had an old voice asked. Another person replied, it's not like there is a strange treasure born, but it is like a master of some secret technique, or someone is promoted. What kind of secret technique can attract such a vision of heaven and earth? It's surprising, the only woman in the 9 people with a veil said with interest. Others also brightened their eyes. It is absolutely extraordinary to have such a secret technique. Even when they reach their realm, they can't help but be moved. The man in Xianxia frowned. It is also possible that someone inherited the vision caused by the things in the Hall of Inheritance. You should put away that little thought first, it is important to do business. Young master, how long will it take for the 3 of them to finish the body quenching? The woman asked leisurely. The man in Xianxia looked down at Xianxia and replied, it will take at least 2 months. Our actions in the land of inheritance have been known by the high-level officials of the 6 sects and several other major forces. They actually found the channel we opened to seal it. There was a cold light in the woman's eyes. Otherwise, if those secretly trained killers entered, the disciples of the 6 sects would be wiped out. The plan this time was all destroyed in the hands of Qi Xiu and Lum Weian. After the separation of the saints and the 2 saints, they must be killed in the inheritance land, otherwise there will be endless troubles. The man who spoke first said fiercely. All 3 of his direct disciples died in their hands, how could he not avenge such a great revenge? The man in Xianxia nodded, Qi Xiu and Lum Weian really can't stay. It doesn't matter if the passage was destroyed by the joint efforts of the 6 senior leaders, as long as there are 9 of us in charge to complete the plan. Then he turned around and said, wait until the Holy Maiden arrives to arrange the capture, and then the entire Tianling continent will be ours, so let those old and immortals jump for a while. What the young master said is that the arrival of the saint is the most important thing. The 8 people all agreed. Since the senior leaders of the 6 sects and other top forces know part of our plans in the inheritance land, I wonder if the Sea clan will get involved, the woman said with a little worry. The man in Xianxia snorted coldly, the Sea clan and our demon clan are mortal enemies. It would be strange if they didn't come to me. Immediately, a sneer appeared on his face. No one can predict now that our real purpose is not to strangle and destroy the elite disciples of the 6 sects, but to welcome the arrival of the demon saint, and by the time they know it, it will be too late. Young master is wise. Inside the Hall of Inheritance, Lum Weian was surrounded by little spiritual power stars, forming waves of spiritual power vortexes all around, and finally all of them penetrated into her body. An hour later, a miniature baby emerged from Lum Weian's heavenly spirit cover and landed on her shoulder to play with. The cultivator and a few spirit pets who watched Lum Weian practice in the training room were completely stunned. What is this? Seeing that the baby's appearance was exactly the same as Lum Weian's, and the breath was from the same source, they were all very surprised. The baby played with laughter on her shoulder for a while, gradually showing signs of tiredness, and burrowed back into her heavenly cover. Lum Weian, who had a quiet and serene expression, slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were as bright as stars, restrained and boundless, clear and bright. Immediately, the bottleneck stuck between Jianzun and Juggernaut collapsed, and the majestic spiritual power in her body continued to run. Her cultivation base jumped 2 steps in a row by entering the nascent soul stage, and was at the peak of the middle-level Juggernaut. The state just stopped. If she didn't suppress it, she could use that spiritual power to level up to the high-level swordsman, but she prefers to lay a solid foundation and suppress it to the middle-level swordsman. She doesn't even need to consolidate it, and her cultivation is very stable. This is the benefit of suppressing the cultivation base in the early stage and continuously purifying the spiritual power in the body. As soon as she raised her eyes, she saw the shocked expressions of Ming Xiu and Mo Yan, and a smile overflowed her lips, explaining, "This is the second nascent soul I cultivated, and even if my body is damaged in the future, as long as the nascent soul is not destroyed, I can still survive. Immortal. If it weren't for the fact that other than her, other people in this continent had no spiritual roots, she would also hand over the cultivation techniques of immortality to Ming Xiu and her family and friends." Ming Xiu restrained the strange color in his eyes. The stronger his woman, the more he liked it. Congratulations to Yanner for making the breakthrough. The pouting smile on his face showed that he was in a good mood. Mo Yan's light eyes also melted into a soft color, and he rarely praised, not bad. At the same time, Yeking Han walked out of an inheritance hall, but was blocked by a gentle and handsome man who had been waiting outside the hall for a long time. You are out. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 540. Yeking Han's whole body exudes indifference that refuses people thousands of miles away, and when he sees the people waiting for him, there is a chill in his eyes. You came out. The warm man smiled but did not reach his eyes. What are you looking for from me? Yeking Han asked indifferently. Do you know the plan of the demon race? The man asked back. When he mentioned Mozu Yeching's cold and indifferent eyes, he frowned slightly and said, You mean they want to wipe out all the elite disciples of the 6 sects? I know that. No, what I want to ask is that there is a demon altar in the place of inheritance, do you know? The man asked. I don't know. Yeking Han shook his head. You mean that the real purpose of the demon race is not to destroy the elite disciples of the 6 sects, but to go to the altar? Well, according to the secret information I found, the high-level demons in the dark market will welcome the arrival of the divided souls of the demons from the upper realm at the altar. The man paused and said, however, it is also one of their plans to absorb and destroy all the elite disciples of the 6 sections. What does that have to do with me? Yeking Han sneered indifferently. He is the young master of Tianyuan city, but not the city master, not to mention he is not interested in the affairs of the demon race. You are from RC clan. RC clan and demon clan have always been mortal enemies. Naturally, we want to destroy their plans. The man immediately changed the conversation and said with a sharp smile, what's more, if the Tianling continent is invaded by the demons, won't you be affected? So what? The demons really want to invade the heavenly spirit continent, so it will be dealt with by the high-level officials of the 6 sects and major forces. What right do I have to interfere? Yeking Han replied indifferently. His attitude was clear, and he added, and I don't have any interest in the matter of the C clan, you don't need to talk about it. In his heart, he is actually very resistant to the identity and blood of the C clan. After all, he has lived for so many years as the young master of the night clan of the human clan. The expression on the man's face did not change when he heard him say this, as if he had expected it a long time ago. A dark light flashed in his eyes, and then he said with a deep meaning, I don't care about the Tianling continent, and I don't like the identity of the C clan. You're not indifferent to Lum Weian, are you? Yeking Han froze, raised his head and squinted his eyes, and asked dangerously, what are you trying to say? Yes, he really doesn't care that much about the survival of the Tianling continent, and he is more opposed to the identity of the C clan, but Lum Weian is the only softness and light in his heart. Since the identity of his C clan was revealed, although the Ye family did not attack him, their attitude changed suddenly, and his seemingly affectionate father immediately expelled him from the house. Even the younger sister, who had loved and grown up since childhood, was silent after learning about this, obviously unable to accept his identity. He was brought back to the Ye family by the mistress of the Ye family back then, which also meant that the real young master of the Ye family was actually dead. In the hearts of the current Ye family patriarch and Yekingal, he is an outsider who occupies the position of their relatives. There was a hint of sarcasm on his lips, even though Yekingal still remembered a little brother and sister relationship to him, but his attitude was obviously a lot more alienated and cold. Only Lum Weian's attitude towards him has never changed, whether he is Yeking Han of the human race or Lan Zi of the C clan, he believes that her friendship with him will not change because of this. She should have guessed some of his identity that day, so she said, no matter what King Han does or does in the future, I will stand behind King Han and become your backup. Let's make such a promise. The gentleman chuckled lightly, and his heart was really like this. Now in Ye King Han's heart, Lum Wan is probably his only dawn and true love. Lum Wan has been assassinated many times by people in the dark market. This time, she and Chi Xiu have also destroyed the matter of the demon clan, destroying the 6 elite disciples and collecting the essence. The man asked with a smile, "Do you think the demon clan saint is coming? After that, the dark market will let her out alive. Speak directly about your purpose." Ye King Han's eyes were all cold, and he stared sharply at the gentle man. "Lance, don't think I don't know your little thoughts. I know everything about you in Luogai He. Already." The gentle man, Lan Si, let out a low laugh, and when he raised his head again, the warm and jade-like temperament on his face disappeared, adding a bit of tyrannical evil aura. "I have never denied my interest in Lum Wan. Why don't we work together?" Lance said with a half-smiling smile. "After all, we are not only members of the Sea clan now, but also belong to the party who can't get it." Ye King Han raised his eyebrows and asked, "How do you want to cooperate?" "I heard that Lum Wan and Chi Xiu have made public the news that they want to form a dual cultivator partner, and Lum Wan and the others should have known about the existence of the demon altar. They plan to go to the demon altar in 2 months to destroy all plans of the Dark City." Lance continued, "Let's push them together, not only fulfilling our mission as a Sea clan, but also helping Lum Wan." "Does such a thing require cooperation?" Ye King Han glanced at Lan Si. "You should have made preparations long ago. How about we cooperate to get rid of Chi Xiu secretly? At that time, we will compete for Lum Wan with our ability." Lance's eyes hide the determination to win. "By the way, Chi Xiu is not called this name. His real identity is the Emperor Ming of the Ming Union Chamber of Commerce. His name should be Ming Xiu." He added another sentence with a faint smile. Ye King Han quietly raised his eyes to look at Lance, and then his lips were full of mockery. "Lance, do you think everyone is the same as you? You can find out his identity secretly, why can't I find it?" Ye King Han sarcastically said, "I am hostile to Ming Xiu, but I will not take action against him, because that will only bring Mu Yan from push away from me. I am in love with Mu Yan, and I hope that one day she can accept me, but she will not stop her happiness because of selfish desires, and will not destroy it." He sneered and said slightly contemptuously, "You, the king of the South Sea, will never understand such feelings. I don't know that the cold-hearted Ye King Han still hides such great feelings." Lance also smiled sarcastically, "You can't ask for it, so you have to fulfill it. Stupid. I don't want to talk for a while, I have nothing else to do." Ye King Han didn't want to cooperate with Lan Si. This man was a wolf in fox fur. Lan Si smiled evilly, "The matter of going to the altar." It was just that he was interrupted by Ye King Han before he finished speaking. "I will go to the altar in 2 months, but it has nothing to do with you or the Sea clan." His estranged attitude was obvious, and without waiting for Lance to speak, he took a step and disappeared in place. Lan Si squinted his eyes, turned his mind, and a deep arc was drawn around his lips, and he turned and disappeared here. Lum Wan and Ming Xiu, who were in the inheritance hall, went to the main hall where the exercises were placed together.